Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today is our CGC 9.8 pricing video that we do every Sunday. And I always say the best thing you can do if you're buying these CGC 9.8 books is just know the current prices of all those key issues that you may want, because then you're never going to overpay basically. So every Sunday what we do here is we just look at completed listings on eBay from this past week of notable key issues in the CGC 9.8. So I got a full list of them here. A lot of really cool key issues sold last week. Some of them I have. Obviously, I brought two out that sold that I had. All these prices are in US dollars that we'll talk about. Again, just the eBay completed listings search is how I got these results. So really simple. I'll have a list in the description below, so you can kind of have it as a resource. All of these are CGC 9.8 blue label sales too, and no signature. Every now and then I'll throw in a signature series, but generally I know the most about blue label. I'm not too much of a signature series guy, so I don't know the prices as well. So yeah, we could get right into the list here. Just really quick, wanted to invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8 here. You hit the subscribe button, the bell will show up, and hit that bell and get all our latest notifications. That would be super appreciated if you did that. Also, I'm really active on Instagram and Twitter. I have all the links in the description below, so add me on those as well. Let's get right to the list though. First comic, X-Men number 4, First Omega Red. This is a really cool, underappreciated X-Men book, I think. And I think selling this week for at the sort of higher end of the range for $133. One sold last week. So X-Men number 4, First Omega Red. And we've had that on these pricing videos quite often, and they kind of go from like every now and then you might see one go for a little bit below $100. Anywhere from like 100 to 133 would probably be about 140, maybe the top I've seen them go for. But First Omega Red, really cool villain, and I think an underappreciated issue, X-Men 4. Next book, Uncanny X-Men number 256, New Psylocke, first New Psylocke. This is another book that last week went for $69.88. And, to get a key issue with the first appearance, and, New Psylocke is a lady character, and, these female characters they're really pushing in movies and stuff. So, if X-Men comes to, the MCU, maybe New Psylocke could be, have an appearance in some of these movies. So I think that this actually is a really cool issue. Jim Lee did the cover art too, so you get a really cool cover. So yeah, overall $69.88. We've done this in our pricing videos too, and I think one went for like $72 or something like that. So it's looking about $70 for that one. A Spawn number 1 newsstand version sold, and it sold for $325. I think last year there was really a lot of rumors circulating about how like Jamie Foxx was going to be the new Spawn, the new Al Simmons. So that issue was going for about $400 like 6 months to a year ago. One selling for $325. Not the best looking auction, to be honest. So I think more near $350 would probably be a fair price of like a really nice looking Spawn number 1 CGC 9.8 in the newsstand version, which is so much more rare, obviously. I always recommend, if you're going to buy Spawn number 1, buy the newsstand version. The original version, there's like 6,000 CGC 9.8s in the direct version, so newsstand version a lot less rare and more collectible and investable. $325 for that, not bad. Uncanny X-Men, next book, number 239, Uncanny X-Men. That's the classic Mr. Sinister cover. A cover that I think is really cool, and I almost bid on this book. I was watching it, but I didn't end up pulling the trigger. That one sold for $61.01. So not a key issue, but probably the coolest Mr. Sinister cover in my books. A Amazing Spider-Man 252, classic cover, Amazing Fantasy 15 cover homage. One of these sold in the newsstand version, so really good looking newsstand version too, in a new case, sold for $540. And that's, a fair to full price for that book. I saw an the same book, I saw maybe 2-3 months ago go for $450, but it was in an old case. But really good looking copy, very centered in a new case, so I can kind of understand that price. Amazing Fantasy 15 cover homage, I think that's becoming more important to that issue as well. So that's, I think, a really good investment grade book if you could pick it up for around like $500, because yeah, you do see people trying to get like $600-700 for that one, buy it now. Next book is Amazing Spider-Man number 306. So this is kind of, I think, an underappreciated Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man issue. It's the Action number 1 cover homage. One of these sold for $109.99. And, you know, if you're kind of on a budget, but you really like Todd McFarlane, I think that's a cool one. Amazing Spider-Man 306, Action number 1 from Superman cover homage. Really cool cover, I think, and it's like kind of underappreciated when you think of like all the popular Todd McFarlane keys. A Wolverine 155, that's the Hulk 340 cover homage Wolverine with Deadpool on the cover. One of those sold for $83. And that's a pretty good price. I know when I bought this book, I paid about $125 for it, and I said, you know, I bought this in a buy it now, and if I waited for an auction, it would probably be like $90. But they just don't come along very much. There's not, I think there's maybe 50 something on the census. Don't quote me on that exactly, but I don't think there's very many of them. So Wolverine 155, one did pop up in an auction. There were about maybe 18 or 19 bids if I remember. $83 finishing price on that one. Really awesome book here. Saga the Swamp Thing number 28, 1st John Constantine. This is a really great book, investment grade book, I think. This one went for $669. Yeah, 1st John Constantine in comic books. And yeah, I think that's definitely an investment grade book that you can go after. $669, I think, is at the higher end of the range. Generally, I've seen them in sort of mid 550s. So yeah, getting up in the mid 600s for that now. This was a really nice example, new case, so you know, somewhat understandable. Really nice book. You know, sometimes people are willing to just pay an extra $100 for a really like investment grade book. I think that's a pretty good example of that. Uncanny X-Men number 121, first full Alpha Flight, just like this one here, and this one went for $699. And yeah, this is, I think, a really good book to grab. The first appearance, and this book is from the 1979, so you're in the 70s there with a CGC 9.8 for $699. And this one popped up in Canada. It was a bit of an opportunistic buy where I paid $550 for it, and you see most of them sell for about $700. So that's looking like a decent buy. Next book is the other book I brought out, Avengers 684, which is the first Immortal Hulk, basically where Hulk gets his immortal powers. I just bought this at my local Comic-Con like a week ago, and this one went for $99, $99.99. So we'll call it $100, and I bought this for $120 Canadian. Yeah, so, and when you kind of take out the shipping and all that, you know, I mean, basically it was about the same price, but I think that's a cool book. There's a lot of them on the census, over 1,000 for like a new book. That's kind of a lot, but the way Immortal Hulk has become so popular, and you can't go wrong with really cool Hulk covers, I don't think, either. So $100 for Avengers 684, I think, is doable. Next book is a good example of like a new book that just has come out that is graded CGC, and is, you know, it's not a super key or anything, but you know, a newer book that's quite popular. It's Batman number 77, where the death of Alfred, where Bane kills Alfred. This was the Cover B Clayton Crane variant, sold for $49.01. So $50 for, you know, a sort of new, modern, somewhat of a key issue, Death of Alfred, Batman number 77, the Clayton Crane, first print, Cover B. Yeah, and, you know, you can kind of expect to pay about that price for a semi-key that's like a brand new comic that gets graded CGC 9.8, about $50, because it's $30 to get it graded. You know, the cover price book was $5 or $10, and then, you know, $10 or $15 profit. So yeah, $50 for a Batman 77, Death of Alfred. Next book, Ultimate Fallout 4, First Miles Morales, one sold for $399.99. And that's, yeah, one last week I think sold for $408. So you're looking about $400. And this was in a new case as well. A Savage She-Hulk number 1, first appearance of She-Hulk. That's still holding its value kind of from that announcement. This one sold at $545. So first She-Hulk, and I kind of documented this on our other videos, but before that announcement of the She-Hulk series, I believe it is, on Disney+, this book was about $350, and many had sold on our videos and everything. This announcement happened, and then like 7 or 8 the next week after that sold for $550 on our one video from a while ago. So still kind of holding that 545 one sold for last week. Secret Wars number 8, Origin of the Symbiote Costume. This is another one where like some rumors came out a month or two ago. So kind of a good microcosm example of a case study here in price. Some rumors came out that Secret Wars could possibly be the next like MCU big, like kind of to replace Avengers, sort of. And this book was going at that point for over 250 or around 250, a little bit over. But one sold, a pretty good looking one, sold for $192.50. So dipping back below 200, which I think about $200, maybe a little bit over, was like what I always thought this issue went for quite often. And then some of those rumors started trickling out, and you got over that 350 mark. But it looks like it's kind of coming down to 200. And this is a book I've always sort of wanted. I'm kind of picky with it, centering wise. It's got like that the white back cover, and some of them don't seem to be too centered too well. At least the ones I've come across that like have cheap shipping to Canada or something. So a book I've never picked up, although it fits so well into like all the other books I have. So certainly one I would recommend. Secret Wars number 8, Origin of the Symbiote Costume. G.I. Joe Real American Hero number 1. One of these sold, and usually I don't like mention these ones, but it sold for $3.99 or best offer. So basically probably sold for about $3.50-ish. They don't give you the exact price. It just tells you that it sold at $3.99 or best offer. But good looking G.I. Joe number 1 in a new case. And this is a book I just don't see sell very often. And I don't know if it's because people are asking too much for it, but I think like $3.50 for the first G.I. Joe comic is actually a pretty decent deal. So, you know, maybe if you look out, if you're into G.I. Joe, I think it could be a good time to actually buy that. Last book here is a book that I've almost purchased a couple times, kind of wish I did. Uncanny X-Men number 129. First Kitty Pryde, first White Queen, Emma Frost. So you get a lot of kind of female first appearances of X-Men in there of that generation, really iconic issue. One of these sold for $1,580, and that's quite a full price. I've seen a couple of these go for $1,350, $1,300. Quite a few of those go actually for probably the last year or two, because this is one, it definitely catches my eye when I see it. So $1,580, and on this one too, it was in a new case, nice copy, but it had the cross out in the UPC code where someone had crossed out with a marker in the UPC code. And that doesn't really count against the grading, but it is kind of a big annoyance for me. Whereas like on my Uncanny X-Men 121 here, it doesn't have it. And a lot of X-Men books seem to have it for some reason because they have the UPC code, and like the X-Men books of this generation, and just other Marvel books of this generation too, sometimes have that cross out where there's a marker cross out in the UPC code, and that really annoys me. This one had it, but didn't really affect the final value price, so I don't think it really affects the value, maybe. But again, Uncanny X-Men number 129 sold for $1,580. And that's our last book for this week. So I'll have a list in the description below. You can check out all the prices in the whole list. And again, when you're buying books like I've made a lot of mistakes in the past buying CGC 9.8 books, at the beginning. Just not being aware of what the current market prices were for all the books that I wanted. And, it kind of takes maybe a month to get a grasp on everything, but when you do, you see like people trying to get more money for the books, and you're like, no, like I'm just going to be patient and wait for another auction, a new auction. And, these books aren't as rare as you may think. They're quite rare, but not really, really rare. So if you're patient, you wait for an auction, and the prices, like the current prices for some of the books you want, you'll never overpay for a book, and yeah, you'll have a better experience collecting and investing in the CGC 9.8 comics, like I like doing, if that's your thing. So that'll be all for this video, though. Again, invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC here, and when you subscribe, the bell will show up, and hit the bell and get all the latest notifications. That would be very much appreciated. Thanks for watching tonight, and I will see you on the next video.